Hei Fa Choi to all of you, wishing you all more blessings and prosperity for 2020. I come from a big family of 9. My parents were very hardworking parents that they would go home late at night. So much so when I go to school, I hardly see them. And my Saturdays, I have to work because they would want us to wake up early and work. Even in the house, we were taught to, clean and all that. So I grew up that way. And I am a convent girl because I went to school in Assumption Convent. I stayed in the convent. Then in college, I went to St. Teresa's, also had to stay in the dorm. Then after I graduated, they sent me to New York, but I also had to stay in the dorm with the nuns. So practically, I grew up with the nuns. But when I was in New York, I then told my father, I want to study in New York School of Interior Design because, I took a foreign service and I said, I want something. At that time, I did not want to go into the business because my parents just worked so hard. My father is a doctor of law from Yale. My mother's a dentist, but both of them had to work because after the World War, they were not able to practice. And so after that, when my parents came back to the house because they left it was in New Manila. When they came back, it became a depot of the Japanese. So my mother found a lot of supplies there, including toilet paper and all that. And at that time, you couldn't buy anything because, the war just finished. So my mother was entrepreneurial and started selling all this that she found. So much so that that was when she put up Alamars. And after my father passed away, my brothers told my mom, we don't like to work long hours. We don't want to work on weekends. So definitely the retail business was not, what they wanted. So we are now Phoenix Publishing and Sibs Publishing. And I know maybe in many of the private schools, they're using our textbooks, but we don't sell to government simply because my father said, better sell, because in government at that time, you have to give an envelope, and that is envelopmental, and he says, no, that's not the way we do business. Anyway, in New York, I know Mary Kay is here, I was also Avon selling. I sold in the dorm because there's so many people here and I'm sure I could sell. I did it, but I also sold in Barnes & Noble, sold in Bloomingdale's. So much so, I told myself, what can I bring to the Philippines that will, because at that time, the peso started deteriorating. And I said, what could we bring? So, let me see what this one says. In 1993, we were then part of the Philippine Retailers Association. PhilExport had an industry study that said the fastest growing sector of the retail industry was franchising. So we started with our first seminar. Then in 1994, I spearheaded a seminar at Robinson's Galleria. The room is good for 280, but there were like 400 plus people that wanted to learn about franchising. So In 1995, we set up the Philippine Franchise Association with Sammy Lim, our chairman emeritus, the father of Yvette or Beta Pardo. Yvette, can you please stand up? The father is Titoy Pardo, Jose T. Pardo, who is now the chairman of PSE. And he also became the department, DOF and DTI secretary. And we had big members also. Then we invited somebody from DTI to be our guest speaker. And guess who they sent? Somebody from LTFRB. Huh. So he says, I don't know what I'm doing here. We also told him, I don't know what you are doing here. So that's how difficult it was for us to start franchising. Okay. Then we had our conferences and all that. We started it small, only in Robinson's, maybe this room. And now in SMX, we now have the whole floor, whole ground floor, and half of the second floor, because the other halls are for our conference. So it has really grown, but we have proven that franchising works. Those that started with one, maybe now have 10, 20. But what I want to say in my journey is how we were able to help those that started in the garage grow to international. One of them is Potato Corner. He was employed under Yvette in Wendy's. And when his brother-in-law told him, Joe Mag, Paperu is doing so well. It's popcorn that's flavored. He said, do you have anything that we could do? And he says, yes, I know. He says, I have it. So that's when he flavored the French fries. And he started in his garage. Of course, he's not a member of the Philippine Franchise Association because Mr. Pardo told him, Jomag, is it true that you put up the Potato Corner? Yes, sir. So the next time, he said, Jomag, Potato Corner or Wendy's? And he chose Potato Corner. So I cannot get him as a member, okay? So anyway, I'll tell you the story later. So we started Philippine Franchise Association in 1995, and in 1996 we had a seminar, and Mark Seabart, the president of Francorp, was our speaker. Then he said that they were the ones who did Jollibee sometime in 1976. So we said, maybe this is what we need in the Philippines so that we can bring concepts like Jollibee to the next level outside the Philippines. So we got the franchise of Francorp. And of course, I have to admit, when we were starting, it was so difficult. Like Max's, the father of Robert Trotta had the program made, but we had to do it so confidential because his relatives that were, for example, the Lola is the one who started it, Lola Ruby. Maybe they will go to Lola Ruby and say, Ruby, tulungan mo naman kami. Ganyan. So Lola Ruby will say, sige, ikaw magbukas dyan sa Baclaran. Ikaw magbukas dyan sa ano. So many relatives were, using Max's, but they did not have a system yet at that time. All that Lola Ruby said is this is buy the chicken and all that. But then he was saying that it was quite difficult. Okay. So anyway, look at where Max's was not as big as many of the brands, but now look at where they are now. They have 12 brands. Okay. So also the same with Goldilocks. Now Goldilocks is owned 35% by SM, and their general manager is from Singapore, from Bread Talk, and also growing so fast. Before, when we started Bench, it was just Richard Gomez rowing the boat with selling T-shirts. Would you believe now Bench has 60 brands, and they've gone into food also. Also, Pen Shop. Pen Shop does not franchise in the Philippines, but franchises outside the country. Mar Rojas, when he saw Pen Shop, he said, that is from Singapore. No, homegrown. So those are some of the brands that we have. I told you about Potato Corner. Now, Potato Corner, sometime in 2002, the president running it passed away. And it was gonna be Joe Magsaysay who will be the president, and they were Cinco Holdings, but one of them told him, Joe Mag, buy me out now habang may makuha pa ako. So that bothered Joe Mag. Sabi niya, are we now on the peak and we are going to go down? He would go to my office, and of course I could not talk to him because they told me, he is from the other association, and they would tell me, Mom, sleeping with the enemy. So I had no alternative but just make chika-chika to him. And then, but he would be so persistent, okay? And then he said, just tell me, he said like that, how many years do you think will I last? Tell me, 5 years? 10 years? So I was taken aback. And I told him, what? 5 years? 10 years in franchising? No. Because if you have a brand and it's there, it must last as long as you can support your franchisee. Must stay there the longest time. Because we won't do that just for them to close after 5 years. No way, that's not franchising. So I mean, I was challenged because I did not want a brand just to close when the others. So finally, he became my client. And of course, now we all know where he is. He's in the United States. Even before he went to the United States, he asked me again. He said, Bing, they told me in the US, no way could I go there because French fries are free in the US. When you eat, the French fries are there. Can you imagine them buying? And then I just told him, Joe Mag, your concept, because it's cheap, versus the other brands in the US, they are expensive. There is a niche for you, but you must do it right from the start. And look at where he is now. He has, I think, 70 in the US, but globally, he is that big already. And it is just a simple French fries there. So, I know it's time, my time is up. Like TGP, it started with one, started with one, and now they have more than 2,000. And he said at the time, I will only sign up with you if I can open 1,000. Can I open 1,000? I said, sure. Because when I told the story of Jollibee, when McDonald's came to the Philippines, where there was a McDonald's, there was a Jollibee. And he said, oh, where there is a Mercury, I will put a TGP. At that time, 800 TGP. So 1,000 was achieved so easily. So this is my journey and how I was able to bring many brands from one to many. And let me tell you, they did not do it right at the start. There were many trial and errors. That's why when we say buy a franchise, because they franchise it out when it is already making money, profitable. For those that are not yet profitable, no, you cannot yet franchise it. But we have developed that, and many members telling them, you can do it. If Tony Tan Katyong, who started with 2 Magnolia franchises, then converted them to Jolly B and went to Francorp USA, and when he talked to the chairman, he told the chairman, I have a dream. What is your dream, young man? I want to be a McDonald's. So he said, what? You know McDonald's is the world's largest. Yes, I want to be a McDonald's. So I'm just telling you, he really had that dream. And now you ask him, when you get the dream, what else? Dream bigger. So I always end saying, all of us have a dream. So go for that dream. I'm sure we will get it. As women, for sure. I also have here with me Rebecca Bukad, who is Rags to Riches. She started in the province, and she was telling me, she was just washing clothes for her family and all. Then now, she only buys from Chanel and Louis Vuitton. Because she can stay beside Mercury Drug. And she told me, the sale of Mercury there is 500,000 a day. My sale is 300,000 a day. And they've been there for the last 5 years. She is featured in the book of Go Negosyo, Rags to Riches. Or what was it? Enterprising Women. 55 inspiring stories. Next time, let's invite her. Okay, so I want to inspire many of you that we can do it because we are more persistent. So thank you very much, and I hope I can help many of you.